And we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. Super stoked about tonight's episode of paraglidingtalk.com. Dave Hanning's with us, all the way from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He's going to be talking about free flying and all adventure flying type of stuff. If you've got questions, put those in the chat. We'll filter those through the moderation team and get those questions to you. Super stoked about what we're going to talk about because I love free flight. We are going to talk a little bit about motoring and safety, and all those things are important. I want to just encourage you to support the show on Patreon and PayPal if you could do it. Keep the show going. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can learn something that might help you to be a safer pilot or make somebody else a safer pilot. There's guys that I don't even see in the show that still contribute to the weekly show and make it possible for somebody else that's learning, or maybe somebody that you never know. Every single episode, I learn something, and I really appreciate everybody's been supporting the show over the years. Also want to mention a couple sponsors. One of those is Midwest Parajet. MidwestParajet.com is the website. Also, PPG Smoke. Ryan Roberts has a bunch of stuff that he's created. He's got headsets, flotation, and also new Chase Cam, version 2 Chase Cam came out. The headsets are coming back at, I guess he's really excited about the new version and fixed some of the issues that popped out on the first go. And so super cool. That's coming down the pipe. Check out ppgsmoke.com for that, for those details. Also want to mention paramotorprops.com. Paramotorprops.com is the website if you're looking for a great deal on props. It happens. You blow up a prop. You need a new one quick. Maybe you're at the fly-in. You could probably get a new prop before the fly-in's over. If you blew one up on the first day, that's how quickly they will get you what you need. So thank you again, Dave, for coming on. By the way, in moderation, Anthony Peregringo, we've got Sean Nafsker and Ripman Riding. They're handling it. Everybody else in the chat that you see with a tool next to their name, they've done something special, or they help build the show, and they're kind of pillars of the show and support the show. If you have questions, you can, for the most part, you could trust those guys with the tool next to their name, and they will help you and point you in the right direction. That's the goal. We're a big family, paragliding, bunch of freaks over here flying around in the sky. So Dave, thank you so much. I've got a couple questions for you right out of the gate. First, I did hear your episode that you were on, our Paramotor Nation. And I want to say thanks to Rip for inviting you. He's the one that connected the dots for me. And so I'm glad that so I did get to listen to that, and I was super stoked, and said I can't wait to have you on and interview you. So for you guys that don't know, a few things about Hanning. He's got 25 years worth of paragliding. He's the owner of Fly Camp Paragliding School, and that is in Tennessee. He's got 2 mountain launches that he runs and owns in Tennessee, and it's just outside of Chattanooga. It's USPA, ASC, and AUA affiliated, internationally rated. It's super cool that he's got this going on, and I actually really want to come and check it out. Maybe at some point, come try to fly there. How did you get into the sport? How did you get into? You've got some a bunch of other things under your belt. You've Chelan's obviously your favorite place to fly. You've been in the PWC race a few times. You were helping out in the Redbull X-Alps, and when I first saw you, I vaguely remember this guy's name. Hansa was there was someone that we had on the show that knew him, and I'm having a hard time connecting the dots, but super cool. Redbull X-Alps, if you ever seen that, absolutely amazing. And so you were doing some of that. I'm going to ask him questions about that in the show. Also, he spent many years flying tandem in Nepal. There's a really cool flying site in Nepal. I'm pretty sure that's where you were flying. You see it on YouTube. And so anyways, first fired off, how did you get into the sport? And take the stage, please.
Right. Well, first of all, thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity to hang out and talk with you guys, and share the love of flying that we all have. And you're right, about 25 years, let's say, of flying. I've been really lucky in being able to maintain flying in my life, and some of that is because I've always been an adventure soul, and started out with alpinism as the precursor, let's say, to flying, where I was rock climbing, ice climbing, mountain guiding all over Alaska and the Pacific Northwest, and really enjoying just being kind of that guy that lived out of the van for the purity of sport. And I got introduced to paragliding out in Utah when I was wintering over as a ice climbing guide for Exum. I was given this opportunity to go tandem with the guy I was remodeling a house with, and Scott gives me the gift of tandem, which was just some power sledders. I mean, we're not even talking like a minute and a half of airtime, but Dexter, to his credit, and Dexter's a longtime paraglider pilot. He owns a company in I think it's Maui Paragliding, or in Hawaii. And he gave me the super power sledder, which was like big cranking wing overs all the way down the south side at the point of the mountain in Utah.
What was his name?
Dexter Clearwater.
Dexter. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, what a trip. We took our 20-year anniversary to Maui, and
Yep.
I just randomly came across someone's feed who was doing an SIV clinic with Max Marion right here in Southern California. And he was from Maui. He runs a tattoo parlor in Maui. And I'm like, the guy got all spun up and he was doing acro and had to throw a reserve. And I was like, oh, wow, this dude's crazy. Where's he from? I don't follow him. And I click on it and it says Maui, and I'm sitting like literally walking distance from his parlor. Like, what the heck? What are the odds of that? So your instructor was from Maui originally?
Truly, my first instructor through Cloud9 paragliding in Utah was Dexter Clearwater, who was hanging out doing tandems and teaching, and so I got the gift of a tandem. You got to check this out, Dave. You're the athlete, and I was like, yeah, okay. I've seen it. It's dangerous. And my friend got hurt. I don't know about that. I'm an ice climber. I mean, the most dangerous thing I ever did in my whole life is the ice climbing alpinism, and here I get introduced to flying, and I'm kind of like, this is dangerous, But he gives me a tandem. Dexter gives me power sledder with big cranking wing overs. Like, we were fully, and I first one, and we ran it out big time because there was no winder. And he looked at me and said, you made me look really good right there. Let's go do that again. So we did 2 of those, and I was sold. I just like, here's my credit card, man. What do I got to do next? Like I'm all in. And so from there it blossomed, and I started in Utah, and I learned a lot at the point of the mountain, which is just a fantastic site with a lot of wind, a ton of opportunity to get just massive airtime. And so 20 some years ago, that was a big deal. And it morphed into tandems and cross country, of course, as the natural progression in unpowered paragliding. You're really seeking how to stay in the sky the longest. And so if you're not ridge soaring, the next really the biggest equation is that thermal cross country scene.
Who is your influence there at Point of the Mountain?
There's so many great pilots that I can call on that are incredible friends of mine, from Chris Santa Croce, Steve Mayer, Brad Ganuscio, Chris Hunlow. We were part of the Rat Pack down there. That there's like a whole little T-shirt that they have now. Billy Purden and Millie. But
they're with us now.
Right on, and they're man, we spent so much time just hanging out trying to make the wind work. But the true sensei for me always came down to the Bill Belcourt, which is and Todd Bibler. These guys that were way before us, and there's so many other names that I just can't even pull out of my head right now to share.
I've got Bill Belcourt's wing in my garage right now.
Oh yeah, right on. Okay. So I have got his like 1991 ITV competition glider in my barn over here, his apartment, and it covers the ceiling and the harness and everything, and it's got like the seat pivot for the speed bar, like crazy webbing against webbing, rubbing.
Yeah, I flew the heck out of that wing. That wing, it's carried me on some great adventures, and every person who flew it said, there's something special about that wing. There's just yeah,
Well, he's
Alpina
definitely
too.
been sensei for a long time in the program of how do we go the distance, and he's my favorite saying from him is just do the math.
Yeah,
That's all it
yeah.
comes down to.
Just do the math. Yep. Talk about modern day training versus old school training. You've got a large ruler. I'm interested in your what
It's
you're seeing these
interesting
days.
to get into this subject in particular because the evolution of the paraglider has been exponential. Each year we come and there's some spectacular new enhancement to handling and ease of launch and flare timing and generosity within the flare window. And the A category, let's just point out how incredible the A category is now. It flies with such glide ratios to reach such great distances that it's of old 20 years ago you'd be like on a DHV2 if you talked about it like that. But to calibrate that to today's world, the C gliders of old are what our A gliders today are in performance, but the safety, pitch stability, and so truly, thanks to computers and everybody's interest, we've had a lot of companies be able to calibrate forward and create amazing wings, and I'm wearing this guy has 5 A wings, and one of them flies like a high B or better in some instances, and that's no joke. And it's incredible what we've been able to do with that beginner category now, enabling us as instructors, where before we really had to do so much more work to make the student capable. Now we don't do nearly half as much work, and the student gets out in this air mass of thermic, and they're capable of thermaling for an hour on their 5th flight. When the wing is doing a lot of that safety, pitch stability. Prior, I remember, the wing and the rodeo was kung fu match, and you were, full ninja to be able to keep it open and flying. And in today's world, that ease of launch, it comes above your head. I can go back to, and I'm a ozone importer, for instance, and we use the Buzz Z4 as a primary to teach. Yeah. And that was a low B wing, and I really didn't like how it launched, but because of the way the wing came up, it didn't present very well, and you had to put a lot of effort in. And they went to the Buzz Z5, and that was excellent. For us here, we have a long glide ratio, and so we can't really utilize some of the non-gliding wings like the Mojos of old in the ozone category. The low A gliders just didn't glide the 4-to-1 that we need to make the landing zone. With a little into wind, you're, a lot of trees around here. So you're in the trees, which is a soft landing. It's just 100 feet in the air. And so when they came up with the Buzz Z4 to the Buzz Z5, I was like, this is a great enhancement. The glider presents really well. It's so easy, but we still were doing so much work on the kiting, ground handling, and utilizing the tandem to teach people in the air how to fly. When the evolution of, say, 3 or 4 years ago, where the A glider started to fly like a Buzz Z5, ozone Buzz Z5 being one of the foundations in our school, I was floored. We can change. We can use an A glider. And that was a big deal, actually, from an owner standpoint, where the legality of they make an A glider, why aren't you using it, comes into question. In a court of law, it might be really difficult to argue why I wasn't using the A glider. And so the truth was we couldn't. But 3-4 years ago, Hannes Papish led some of the design with Fee, enabling A gliders to perform like a low B. And this was incredible for free flight in particular. And suddenly the safety, the pitch stability really made it like the torpedo, for instance, which everybody teaches, is something that we shy away from because it's a bad posture that was really suited for the old gliders that would overshoot all the time. Now the gliders don't do that, and we don't need to assume this posture and outrun it. We can have control, and we do like a upright posture, we call it Bruce Lee, and just to move away from just hitting the outrun it category, which to me really feels like it's a fallback to the old times of hang gliding. How do you launch a hang glider? You got to run like hell down the hill to get the speed of airflow over the top. With a paraglider, it's over your head, it's flying. So when you're running down the hill, you shouldn't be outrunning it. You should be running to enable its flight. And instead of creating like a roll, pitch, dive, we should be creating a positive arc exit. And if we do that with the right pitch control in kiting, then we're going to have a clean exit into a real authoritative position versus like a dynamic movement. So these gliders, these designs have given us the ability really to have that authoritative maneuver versus I'm desperately outrunning my glider in this turkey posture, you know, where I don't have control over my shoulder. You know, and it was the older people that pointed out first, my shoulder doesn't work like that. I can't do that. How can I do this differently?
Oh, right.
And there were several people where I'm like, well, let's just move your arm into this position and stand this way. You know, and when we started to move in this direction, because gliders allowed us to, right? Really, gliders allowed us to. And also we got smarter about how to be in control of kiting behavior, you know, and doing like, I remember just, we were talking about how you're grabbing and walking backwards to get into position to enable the glider to fly you off the hill, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we do a lot of kiting instruction here as an initiation on launch at the mountain launch of 2,000 feet. We're standing up here. How do you be in control? How do you kill it? How do you stop it before we even let you go flying away? And that gives them the ability to create that positive arc out and away, authoritative glide into maybe a soaring or right directly into the thermic equation. And then, you know, we're lucky here in Tennessee, things are generous and soft and green. And so noon, we're flying midday thermals. It's your
no kidding
fourth flight. We just had this a couple days ago with a new student. It's his fourth flight. Now he's military skydiver background, so he has some canopy knowledge, but fourth flight, he's at cloud base for an hour over the landing zone. And it's a generous conditions. He's lucky timing to be here. You know, we have outstanding conditions and rowdy stuff too, but we get a lot of these generous conditions that give us that chance to give you the access to that pitch, roll, yaw control, and climb out. And then bam, man, you're hooked for life. I'm guaranteeing, you know, fourth flight, you're doing thermals for an hour. But, you know, that's because of the wings. We couldn't do that in the past.
True story.
I just heard they're coming out with a D, or it should be a D, but it's a it's a two-liner C.
Yeah.
It's ozone.
Yeah, that's right.
Bunch of ozone snobs here.
It already has one. There's several free flight companies, a sea glider with two lines, and it's not the first one. You know, long ago, we had the Mustang from Firebird, I think it was. You know, the two-liner. That thing was a pony to ride. But definitely, they've learned a lot since then. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. But they've learned a lot since then. And the two-liner category coming into the sea, like the recreational level, this is excellent in terms of reaching performance, but it also has to do with the fact that the glider technology, I think, is really more manageable. You get on the glider and you're going to be able to control it, where in the past, maybe that would have been top skill only.
What do you think about the change in the rules for ratings? They basically were saying that they removed that need for collapse lines. Like, for example, the Alpina 4, or I'm sorry, no, it was the Mantra 7 that they said, you don't need collapse lines. We're going to pass that off. And that, I mean, that's a D glider, C glider decision maker, right?
You know,
with collapse lines or not.
At that point in time, I think in history of the industry, because it's the industry voting to decide what is good for ratings. And there was a real move forward by actually this guy, Hannes Papish, who thought a soft nose was a safer concept. The argument there, and ozone has a really stronger stiff nose profiling. And so ozone, of course, has at this time really been the dominant company in the marketplace for a long time. They're twice as big as their nearest competitor. And
yeah, they swallow up the competition too.
They definitely have a very strong design team, and they're making excellent product. It's very much high performance, and they're winning. And this is what to the industry. So the industry argued that perhaps that stronger nose that requires an extra line to actually pull that nose down to create the full collapse environment required for the testing was too much. And the argument passed, of course, that then the softer nose. So the Delta 3, the Alpina 3, this was when they had to redesign their whole platform to come where, you know, just the A lines would collapse the nose. Prior to that, you had to, on the Delta 2, you had to have the collapse lines added. And so the collapse lines added automatically bumped you into D category. So that was, I think, political, but also really sort of helping to redefine, is the ozone way the only way, you know? And maybe they sort of reset the industry and allowed other businesses to foster some development that has, I think, complemented what has been the dominant winning design themes, like the shark nose, for instance, is clearly a winner in design for airflow across the nose profile to keep the airflow clean and even across the whole wing. And everybody uses it, but nobody calls it shark nose except ozone, right? And this is definitely a winner for us all, because the pitch stability and safety enhancements that come from that design alone, that was a huge leap forward.
What do you think about that new serrated edge on the boom?
Really cool. Really cool. And this is definitely something that has been tested before, but I think finally that the time and the balancing on the wing and such. I was in Costa Rica this past winter in March, and I saw Torsten as he was testing this new glider with the serrated edge, and he was doing all the tricks and such, and I was fully impressed by the behavior of the glider and the penetration. Now, this is a real benign and easy place to fly, and he was telling me, I got to take it to Brazil to really test it in the big boom boom air. But we're seeing really great results, and the pilots that fly it are talking about how really nice it is. So, you know, it's clear that a clean profile along the leading edge isn't so important, but perhaps the airflow dividing along the leading edge is the primary thing of consideration, like that shark nose really demonstrated.
Yeah. Bring that thing to Blossom. We can give you a good test.
I mean, I love it that there's more and more of these factors of design that are pressing us forward. Because, I mean, to be fair, Hansa Raymonic, who was the X-Alps athlete that I supported 3 times, 2007, 2009, 2011, and I did it again in 2013. And that was an amazing experience, but an incredible athlete, and he's still really active in filing. He's got a career and a family now, like myself, but he doesn't own a paragliding business. And he was out at Utah's hike and fly event this last year, and he did really well. And he was pointedly, when we were talking, mentioned, and I did it all on a high B, where everybody else is flying some hot crap glider, you know, the super gnarly Ferrari, right? He's like, and I did it all on a high B.
Yeah.
You know, how about that? And it's like the technology.
I know Blossom now really well, and I fly an Alpina 4, and I feel like, you know, when I pull my wing up, it's on. Like I'm gonna do well. I'm probably not gonna be at the bottom. It happens every once in a while, very rare. And even the top dog, same thing. These groups are coming in now with the Swift 6, I think it is, Buzz 6.
Buzz 6, yeah.
They're just keeping right up there. I mean, they're killing it. I'm like, what the heck? I'm over, you know, and I'm thinking maybe the next step will be a M7 for me, and you know, the rest is history. But I'm happy right where I'm at. My Alpina 4. It's so I stay right with the Xenos. Right now.
I have an Alpina 4.
I love it.
And I've been guiding on it, and it gives me extra room to do more. And I have a Xeno 2 sitting there in plastic waiting on me. And I'm like, really, is this the kind of flying I'm going to do right now? Right. And I'm going to the races and stuff. But I also have a Maestro 2 from Fee coming in, which is their new high B.
Yep.
And it resonates in my ear that Hansa says, I did it all on a high B.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the reality of performance is it's all there now in our recreational category.
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't have to go so deep on the D wing to be competitive.
Yeah.
If you want to be World Cup, you're going to be riding the D glider,
Yep.
Zeno 2, which is what our Enzo 3. There's a couple
Yep.
others that are out there, but it's the really good pilots making those gliders go really well. Otherwise, everybody seems to be flying the same ship.
Yeah.
But down in the category that's accessible to the layman, the normal Joe flyer, it's this B and even high A stuff that is super fantastic. So
yeah,
I'm going to this Utah race this in mid-September, and I'm thinking I'm going to fly this new Phi Maestro 2, a high B class, just to see
you're gonna love it.
how well I can do against these other guys, because I'm going for vacation tourism,
Yeah.
I'm
Have the phone out the whole time. You can relax.
Yeah, I'm going to be like enjoying myself. Racing, I'm no good at that. I enjoy it a lot, but I was never the winner guy. And to be fair, it's some of the best places, the best people, and you always learn the most, and you elevate your flying so high. But you got to go in it with the idea that it's just for fun. So
yeah,
I don't have
100%.
to pull out that Zeno 2 and be like, I'm with the boys. Right?
Yeah. Will Fly donated $5 to the super chat. He said Resurgence PPG rocks. Thanks, Will Fly, and you're right. Let's spin the wheel a little early, shall we?
Yeah, that keeps them on their toes, so that
Keeps
way they
them
don't
on
know
their
when
toes.
to just like jump in here. You know what I'm saying?
I always
So
see
no more
a
names.
spike, like right at spike
Exactly.
and visitors right at the halfway mark, because they know we're going to give stuff away.
What are you
That's
giving
right. So
away,
I'm going to
Robert?
announce it since there's a little bit of lag.
Yeah,
I'm going to announce it. No more names in the wheel. So
Yeah, no
if you
more
come in
names in
after
the wheel.
this, too late. I'm sorry,
I got
Walter. If you just coming in, I'm sorry, dude.
Walter. Yeah, so I got these little phone savers, retractable keychain deals.
Tethers.
Yeah,
Hey,
tethers.
Dave, people want to know how to reach you, so you can. I
I
want to put
put
it in the
the
chat.
I
type
put
it
the
out or something.
website on there too, on the chat, but you can keep doing it.
Good.
Yeah, so it's unique. It's flying.camp and no .com. We're flying.camp. You can find us that way. You can Google PT would be Paraglide Tennessee. We're under that name as well. And then it's really simple. Info at tnfly.com will get a hold of me directly.
So you ready, Robert?
Spin it to win it.
Okay, here we go.
The spin of this wheel is brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school there in Nebraska. If you're interested in get some top-notch training and you want to fly a paramotor, you can sign up with Josh and his team today. And they got plenty of corn. Lots of corn there in Nebraska. Also, Calamity Kite Clinic. Sean runs a school teaching you how to ground handle. It is the only ground handling school that is dedicated only to ground handling in the world. Huh? You think about that, Sean?
I don't know because Andre Bandera has got one as well, but he's in
does-
Portugal, I believe.
No, he
So-
does
That's
not
not
have
a
a
North American
ground
company.
handling. He teaches you to fly too. You are dedicated for ground handling.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And it looks like we have a blank winner.
No.
Oh,
We
no, it's going
don't.
to keep going. Kevin can
Oh.
fly.
Yeah,
Come on,
maybe.
Jay.
He
Oh,
was
it's-
calling it too. He was like, I'm ready.
Oh yeah, Kevin.
Oh, if it
Kevin,
keeps going,
Kevin
it
said
might
if
be
he wins,
Sean.
you got to send him two. I don't know why.
And that thing keeps
Schizophrenic, I
rolling
guess.
along.
Kevin
can fly.
Congratulations.
Kevin.
Excellent work at winning that wheel tonight, Kevin.
Kevin, reach out to me at the website paraglidingtalk.com/contact, and I'll get you your winnings. Yeah, just send me a message on there, and I'll ship that out right away. Yeah, he can definitely use it. He's got paramotors and free flying gear. Yeah, so we've got some amazing, trainers. We got instructors now that have really stood the test of time, and they're producing these students that are coming out with really exceptional behavior, I would say, when it comes to free flight, especially. Um, I directly connect that to passion, just having a sheer passion for the sport and wanting to preserve the sport. What are you seeing from people that are coming in fresh? What is the big mistakes that they're making, and what are the things that these guys can be looking out for? We have tons of people that watch these shows afterwards, and they're just interested in getting into the flying scene. What should they be looking for? What are the big mistakes that you're seeing people are coming in and making?
Well, right off the bat, we can say don't buy your own gear from eBay before you call me. And there's a lot, I think, of used equipment on the marketplace that people kind of get the idea in their head and they already got the gear, and then they come to us. And so there's sort of a loss there when they realize that maybe this gear isn't actually usable. And so to start off with is get the right information. So do the research by connecting enough, interview your instructors, and make sure it suits your location. The access is really the big component. It's not that you can get it done in a week, right? You can't just show up and knock it out in 5 days. For instance, the United States Hang Gliding Paragliding Program mandates 7 days of flying and 35 flights. That doesn't count for the ground handling school days in front of that. So we really got to take into consideration that like a straightforward week to 2 weeks is not really going to be a quality program. I mean, where do you get that kind of weather? So we do a lot of coming and going, and the big equation of understanding that we get an initiation day, 2 days, maybe a weekend, and get you started. That here's how we read the weather of this place, and now we have a unlimited access program, and so you come and go as it suits your life and the weather. So first teach them the weather. This is how you get connected. And then that sort of Swiss standard, it's going to be a while before you get this done. So you're going to go home and have a life and then come back and connect with weather and instructors that can really enable you to be safe. So kind of another strategy that definitely has been winning for us, where the people come in with a lot of YouTube knowledge, which can be dangerous, and preconceived notions. But I think it's easy to get them on board with the right programming when we do the hands-on training, primarily with kiting. We do use a lot of, there's video access so they can see. But what has been really successful with us is taking these people who have like an idea how they dance and showing them by video where it is in their launch sequence that they're making those mistakes. And
That's
so
a
they
really
can
good
review
idea.
that time and time again. So it's difficult to do sometimes because, the staff's got to be there, or the guy's got to have the camera in his hand and he's got to capture it all just right. But during the time where we get that video of you launching and we can go and say, here, here, and here, you could improve. It's a categorically redefining moment to see yourself making the mistakes where your mind had thought, no, I wasn't doing that, And so there's a whole lot of like, I'm, a good dancer mentality on top of, I did the YouTube research. I know what I'm talking about. And a famous one also would be, hey, I got a lot of skydiving experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I came here because I want to get some training for speed flying.
Yeah. And right away, they want to be a tandem pilot.
Yeah.
That's the other one. So there is a real like sort of misnomer that you can just jump on this and, be a pro as the next level too. But, we all want to do the X-Alps and we all want to fly the furthest. And we all know with paramotoring, of course, the posture is everything. You don't want to get your Achilles clipped by the paramotor as it's flipping around. So there's a lot of right behavior that can be taught. And the biggest thing I see is that people come in thinking they already know so much because of their connectivity in YouTube. And they're like, I bought this wing on eBay, and they didn't talk to anybody,
Yeah. That's a mistake I made.
It was, huh?
I got lucky though.
Guilty.
Yeah. I was flying a Ozone Vibe from 2004.
Oh, that's a great old one.
Yeah. But you know what? It was good. I beat the crap out of it. I dirted it before I bought my new one, and that thing was just, it did its job. It was good. Ozone makes a good glider. Even in 2004, it was good.
Well, and it's lucky that we survive ourselves as we learn how to be
That's right.
smarter in this particular program.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and I always went back and forth with people telling me, you got to be real. You just have to be paying attention, be super careful, and I'm like, yeah. Well, what do you think? I'm out here, I'm learning
Trying to
how to
kill myself.
fly this thing. I'm taking the very, very slowest road. There was a good question in the chat. How long does your training take? That was one of my arguments, that just because you go through the DMV and take the test, you get a driver's license, doesn't make you a good driver. Same thing. Just because you went through a week of training, I felt like it would give you a false sense of security. You might learn some things, but I've watched guys come from Torrey and trying to fly Blossom. I'm like, no, you need to not be flying here. Not yet. Go
Right.
get some experience. What's your training course look like time wise?
Well, it's always a tough question because you want to say 2 weeks, and that's an average amount of time, but it's not one block of 2 weeks to do the best training. Yeah, you want to show up for 2 weeks, we'll take care of you, but you're not going to get the best training.
And you're
If
not going
you-
to get a P3 in 2 weeks.
Well, no, you got to get 90 flights for that. But
Yep.
to get how long does training take is like, well, how quick are you at learning? Because if you demonstrate the skill set that's required to continue to move to the next level, then the training doesn't take very long. Like this week, we also had the perfect weather for somebody who was available for 3 days in a row, and they did 10 flights a day. And that means that they only have 5 more flights to graduate with a P2. So their connection to the weather is really what enabled them. Because otherwise, 5 flights a day might be our average, assuming the good weather. And we have bad weather seasons that we have to consider. So
Okay,
when
that's
people
one of my
ask-
questions, because I do want to come
Yeah.
fly there. What's the best time of the year to come fly?
Well, truly, we got a couple of times a year that are the best. And
Okay.
I always tell people, when the dry weather kicks in and we do the almanac, and it's going to be halfway through May and then all the way into about halfway through July before the moisture kicks back up and we go over development until mid-August, when it dries up again and we start to see hurricane season push good weather to us. We set our state records in June or September. And that's when we get our best flying weather. We fly through October. November is really not nice. December has some great days and the weather's not bad. January is cold, but traditionally New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, there's soaring happening. You're just dressed like a snowboarder with goggles and everything,
Yeah.
And then it doesn't really warm up and we get early spring starting March.
Okay.
April's wet though, and I always tell people it's why we got a lot of green grass. And the big equation is, how long does your training take? Well, with the weather, how you connect with the weather, how many weekends does it take? 6, 8, to do that. It's going to be definitely difficult to ensure that, when you want to do it, it's probably not going to work. And then when the weather's ready, are you available? So the dedication to learning and connecting, if you're coming from out of state, people camp 5 days a week. That's a lot of time off of work. And it becomes a factor of, can you train locally with someone that can tap you when you're available and the weather's good? Then you're going to get a better training programming, assuming that they have access to the right facilities, the mountain launches where you can do the real learning, not just a training hill. Because the running down the training hill slope stuff is great, but it's the beginning only. It's not where you learn how to fly. And you need those local people. Where are you going to fly? Right? Are you just, I'm going to fly out to Utah, learn how to do this, and then where are you going to fly now because you live in Virginia? Maybe you should have connected with the more locally connected people to do that training. So it might take you longer, but then you'd be ensconced in the local community. And you more likely will have greater success and not be, burned out or I'm not connecting. And so it's just closet material, So out west is best. You got so much access. You got so much terrain. There's so many people. As we get further east of the Mississippi, things go towing, fewer mountain launches. It gets more sporadic. You have to travel further to get connected to the right weather, the good stuff. So, I'd love to say come for a week, we got you covered. I'm going to guarantee it, but no, that nobody can do that. In fact, those that do say that that's a good story and it happens, but the norm, it doesn't. You know, the weather gets in our way, and we have to be flexible because we're here to fly weather.
Yeah. Yankee Paramotor donated $10 to the super chat. He said, as a former guest of the flying camp, I can't say enough good things about Dave and his staff. Great hosts, especially for us PPG guys looking to learn a little outside our normal routine. Thanks, Yankee, for that. Will Fly asked a question. He said, does Dave think that the USPPA PPG 1 and PPG 2 requirements are sufficient, or would he like to see them increased?
Yeah, so I'm a really big proponent of let's learn as much as possible. And I agree across the board that in the United States, our requirements are very low. And I've traveled enough around the world to see zero requirements and the catastrophes there. And then say, let's say Swiss standard, where it's a really high level. And it's like you're going to a university, you know, you're going to be engaged for multiple years, multiple instructors. You're not just with 1 2-week or 1 week program, or, you know, the requirements are not sufficient, not for the USPPA, which does a good job. But I think that they could be raising the bar versus just allowing us to get away with it. I know with USPA in particular, that's the United States Hang Gliding Paragliding Association, I would like to see that standard raised. 35 flights, sure, but what we do is a higher level, 10 hours of flying minimum. That's not sled rides from the top to bottom. You know, we have a 7-minute sled ride at our place. Some people have a minute and a half at a training hill. 35 flights of a minute and a half top to bottom does not make you good to go by yourself.
Marshall's sledder was like 22 minutes.
Right?
Took forever. I had to go pee by the time I had to land.
Right. It was a really big deal. And you realize those are the places you're going to go fly from, not the training hill. So we should be training. By the time we graduate, we should be comfortable at the Marshall site, which is a great site. I mean, what a great sled ride. Landing zone's a little small.
Yeah, no, it's big. It's fine. It's great. I actually got my P3 there. No, P2 there. Got my P2 with Stephen Nowak over there.
Right on.
And this last, not this past year, but the year before, I finally got to fly Crestline and hang out with the Kooks. Super fun.
Right on. Cool.
Talk to us about a time you were out of control, and what did you learn?
Out of control, like in the sky, out of control. I didn't have control of my wing.
Yeah, like you maybe launched into some situation that you shouldn't have, or maybe a competition where you put yourself in a weird position or something like just anything that we can learn. We're here to learn something.
Yeah, you bet. Well, so I can certainly suggest there's several of those, and my memory is not good. But where it crystallizes is up over the top of the peak there in Sun Valley, where we've launched and we're climbing out. Rowdy conditions, strong conditions. This is an interior mountain range, so you know the wind factor is a big deal. But the strength, because it's high desert as well, is outrageous, and we can breach the legal limits here on those days. And so I recall being quite confident in climbing in the thermal up above the peak. And I can't recall the altitude, but I was watching the ground become small, and I clearly slipped out of the sweet spot in the thermal as I was climbing up. And I, in retrospect, believe that I got into the pocket right below where multiple thermals converge. Oh. And there I was below that full SIV kung fu, and I'm looking down as I'm karate chopping the hell out of the sky. This guy's climbing up in a thermal, just a righteous thermal. He's just screaming up at me, and he's coming so fast. He's now yelling at me, "Hey, get control of your glider," because it's clear he's just going to come right to me. Oh. And he's not, you know, he's with the lift, and we got plenty of altitude, but I'm screaming back, "Get the bleep away from me. I have no control of this glider right now. And in the end, it worked, but it worked out. I got the glider maintained, and we entered back into the lift, and I then engaged it like a full pucker back up into the sky, you know, white faced and just heart racing. But I mean, I was in no movement position. I wasn't going up,
Right.
wasn't going down. The wing was collapsing and falling apart every which way. And I just had to have been right below where things converged, stuck in that rotary wash. And you know, I've got lots of memories of people throwing reserves at that site. So that one was a death scare for me. And it was such a great day that I carried on and kept flying, because, you know, the rodeo is real. You get on the bull, you're going to hold on, and you're going to ride it all the way to the end, and until it throws you. So that was one. But, you know, the one that hurt me the most was Snowbird, Utah. And we went flying up there, which was a special deal. I launched and I flew, and it had some wind to it. I wasn't able to connect and climb out. And I was really, you know, moving into the gut of the valley down near the base of the tram, if you've been there. And they had told me that this place was the designated landing zone, which really, when I looked at it, I was like, well, those are the volleyball courts, and there's a lot of convoluted terrain, and it's complex with the wind rotor from the building and the tree line, and the way it was like a propped up sort of mound of boulders, you know. But since it was the official landing zone and shortest walk back to the tram, I thought I might practice my landing there in the event that I might do tandems there in the future. And so I was doing really well as I came into position above it, and I thought, we got this covered. I'm going to make it. As I descended to the point of tree line, that's when the wind thermal equation took over, and I found myself suddenly into the rotor. And I knew it because I'd done it once before at the point of the mountain, and I had the big silly soul airbag thing that saved me at that time when I rotored into the ground. This time I felt the rotation as I entered the rotor, the full rotation, you know, coming back around, and then I'm in the middle of it, and it's just zero, absolutely just a total still feeling, a very scary feeling. And I knew, oh gosh, I am just screwed. And the wing, boom, gone, just like that. And I came back, and there I was in a big giant wing over, straight full pendulum into just gigantic, massive boulders. I was just a dead man. And for whatever reason, I reacted and spun the glider. And because I spun the glider, I took away all that pendulum momentum, and I ended up landing on my back, and I felt my femurs bottom out in my pelvis, you know, and nothing broke there, luckily. But my hand went like that, because, you know, here I am, and this one came in here, and this one went bam, and it hit a boulder. And so right there, I dislocated and then broke the arm. I mean, oh my God, total pain. But I wasn't dead, damn it. And I don't know why. And in that moment of the rotor and out of control, like the intensity of the calmness too, like really, I just really calm when it happened. I picked myself up. I actually bunched my stuff together so it didn't look like somebody was dead over there. And then I walked down the hill to the tram base of the Snowbird with my glove pulling on my thumb, you know. And those guys, gosh darn it, they cut my jacket right off my arm, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
Right. Well, it worked out okay.
$300 Patagonia jacket down the tube.
My guiding jacket, you know. It's like anyways, the out of control moment there. I mean, the reality of slow timing, peacefulness, and all that was real. And you know, I was forced in a position that I probably shouldn't have. And I could have, you know, gone further back where there was more wind flow, that landing on pavement in a big giant parking lot there where the helicopter business is there at Alta and Snowbird. But I was trying to force a landing.
Right. And
I forced myself into rotor. I rode the rotor bull in, and it should have killed me. And I'm, you know, grateful it didn't. But, you know, I feel like I reacted with some calmness that took away the pendulum momentum energy. So, I didn't have a whole lot of acro training outside of just winging it over at the point of the mountain. But, most certainly the more training we do to be in control of the glider and understand that pendulum equation, we can do more than we understand.
No doubt. By the way, you can learn how to be a better pilot by going through an SIV course with maxacro.com. Max Marion runs that website. Sign up for some SIVs with him. He's one of the sponsors of the show. maxacro.com. They've got some great classes coming up. I just saw a couple messages on Telegram. You can link up with him on Telegram and reach out to him on his website, maxacro.com. Also, the show's brought to you by iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors, no better place to get proper training than iflyindiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. That's iflyindiana.com. Show's also brought to you by Lone Star Paramotor. If you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training. That website, again, is lonestarparamotor.com. Want to also just mention real quick, Resurgence PPG, one of the great organizations that we say that they're a sponsor. Actually, we just promote them. Resurgence PPG. If you're not sure about where you're going to make a tax deductible donation, that's the spot you want to give it to. They support our men and women of uniform. You get a great organization, and you see it in the fruit. There's some great things that come out of their stuff. Reach out to Todd Scandrett at resurgencepppg.com. So over the years, I'm coming up on 5 years. So April will be 5 years of flying for me, free flying. And I've got maybe about a year worth of paramotoring. I would argue, because my backyard is blossom. If I could, if I'm gonna fly, I'm gonna usually free fly. But in the winter, there's a few days where I just can't get out to the hill or whatever, so we go fly paramotors. But what does it take to be a proficient tandem pilot? I'm asking for a friend.
Right. Well, okay. So now you're talking about taking someone else and their life being in your hand. And the legalities there are real. And there's only 3 organizations in the United States that have the exemption. And this is a real big deal. If you're going to fly legally in the United States on a paraglider, there's as a solo pilot, no rules, because you're part of the FAR 103. But as soon as you take a passenger, now that's a commercial activity. And there's no differential between I'm taking my mother or my wife or my kid versus a paying customer. It's all commercial. And you're, with that in mind, going to need to do a significant amount of training. Idealistically, I prefer a pilot that is exceptional in cross-country flying. If I'm looking for someone to hire, I want you to be able to thermal up in the lightest air, guaranteed launch, guaranteed landing, regardless of conditions. So that means you're going to be pretty experienced. You're also going to be pretty much on game, and you like riding bulls for a living. This is something where benign air is any air for you. The flying is something you crave so much. If that's the case, you're going to be a natural, really, pretty much, especially if you have a customer service kind of conversational attitude. But the truth is that people want to get into it too soon. And it's driving the school bus, man. You're a taxi driver. In fact, in India, we call it the tandem walla, which is, walla means you're the taxi driver, basically. And you go from flying for yourself and flying well and doing things of excitement to just, I'm taking someone. And this is a really enriching experience, sharing the air with someone. But to be a good tandem pilot, you better be really good at launching and landing and flying cross-country thermic conditions. And that's because you're going to launch when you don't normally as a solo pilot. You're gonna do it for the money. I guarantee you're gonna do it for the money. It'll be cross and not so good, but you're like, I think I can do it. And you're gonna do it. So you better have it together. You can't be some kind of junk show, and there's definitely a level of skill set where you're gonna be a natural at it. And if you're categorically flying a sea glider casually, you're probably going to be a great tandem pilot, because flying the wing isn't the deal. That's easy. It's managing the person. So if you fly the wing naturally and you got it together, then it's going to be about are you good customer service, customer relations individual, because then the tricks of managing someone are going to make it simple for you to launch or difficult. So your personality is going to become a big component.
Are you a good heel kicker?
Yeah, right. Well, we do definitely push you if you're not running, and then maybe I'm out there helping throw you out there, because we get a lot of people that are afraid and want to sit down and stuff. And that's a reality. You just can't assume everybody's going to make it easy for you. And that's part of how we train when it comes down to it. Like the person that's doing the training might, purposely sit down or reach up and try to grab stuff or create a big ear on one side on purpose to see what your reactions are going to be. Are you going to be flustered? Are you going to be thrown out of the loop? If that's the case, whoa, you're just a little too green to be trying for tandem. You really maybe, and I tell this to people, just go be the competition pilot. When you're a competition pilot, now let's talk about training for tandem. Now, not everybody's into competition and stuff, but what I mean is cross country, I'm going the distance, I'm choosing to fly for myself, and I'm demonstrating I'm capable and good at it. And then
it's a lot like life experience, right?
Yeah,
man. You want somebody that's got that life experience, that has done it, been there, done it several times, could do it in your sleep, no big deal,
No big deal. That's the way. Exactly. And when you come in with experience, then you casually converse about how this is going to be easy versus being all overclept and heart rate and sweaty palms. And it's obvious when you're the rookie, and it never really goes over well with the customer.
I like to yell when I'm on launch. Like I have a couple friends at Tori, and I like to tell them stuff like, "They're letting you fly right now? Oh no."
Yeah, there's a bit of a behavior where people like to joke about it, and there's a lot of people that can't handle that.
No.
And we can talk about certain pilots that actually have a public negativity about how they've been cavalier about, this is my first time, and they're joking because they're just over being asked by the nervous person, and perhaps we could be more sensitive to the individual psyche, and help them manage to have the greatest time. That's what it takes. It's the greatest tandem pilot. Yeah, they're exceptional skill set, but they're really calibrated to be empathetic to this individual's moment of vulnerability and how you're going to take them into, like, food tastes better, the air is sweeter, the view, and their calmness after the extreme runoff moment. This is a moment to cherish, and you need to be a special person to understand that.
I did have another question. We're almost out of time, but you ever have a tandem passenger make you turn around and land and say, "That's it, I'm landing, you're getting off the ride"?
Yeah, well, so luckily, as a pilot in command, it's pretty easy to be in command. And when the individual is like, the only time I've ever been like, "No, man, you're not flying," is because the guy was so hungover in Nepal, and I'm like, "Man, I'm not taking you flying. You can just ride the van down. You sort of screwed that one up." But
like he was drunk?
Yeah, he was just so hungover. It's just, there's no way. He was just going to vomit, is a guarantee,
Yeah.
And nobody else wanted to fly him. And I was like, no. And he finally was like, I got to do it, and I was like, all right. So I took him, and all we did was make the straight, to get him there, because for sure he was going to vomit, and he almost did. I just made that he got to the landing zone okay. But, it's only one time was I like, this passenger's crazy. And it happened to be in Nepal when I was flying a Chinese woman, and she literally grabbed my helmet like this from behind to pull my face forward to kiss me in the face. And the fish breath was out of control, man. And I was like, smacking her in the helmet, like, and that was the only time I was like, we're going land. I was over.
That's great.
Honest.
Oh my
gosh. Nepal
gosh.
offered a lot of crazy opportunities in the tandem. It made a real rich experience.
Yeah, you've got quite a few pretty cool flying adventure places. We're out of time. I do want to ask before we get off, would you be interested in coming on the show again?
Absolutely.
I feel like we scratched the surface. I've had some of your close friends on the show. Steve Mayer has been on the show a couple times. He's great. Santa Croce, who's been on the show. Brad Ganuccio's on the show often.
You gone?
Yeah, these guys are champs, and so I really appreciate meeting another one of the Rat Pack.
Right on, bro.
Yeah, super
Thanks for
cool.
having me.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to the after show. I don't know if you can hang out for like 2 more minutes. There's
bet,
just
I'll
gonna be
be
a
here.
couple more people. Thank you for watching, everybody who's been part of the show and supporting the show. Thank you. Appreciate all the Patreon supporters and the PayPal supporters and all you super chatters. You guys are awesome. And even I saw Hot Buttered Steve jumped on. He said, "Sorry, I'm late. Just landed. I'm wearing a bathing suit because I'm out of underwear." Thanks, Hot Buttered Steve, for making it. Hope you can come on the after show. So you guys are awesome. Thanks again. Let's fly safe, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. If I don't see you on the air, I'll see you in there. Have a
Thanks.